All right, welcome. Get on in here. This is a big update. I've been gone from social media for a few weeks now, and you want to hear about what's been happening behind the scenes. Get in here, okay? Thank you so much for stopping by. Um, I really hope that the audio is working. We had to start a few minutes late, had to restart because the audio wasn't working. So I really hope that it's working now because I really want to get to the update and let you guys know what's been happening with me. I had some music, but it was Dietrich Haddon open door season because it is open door season for me and for all of us out here. But if you guys have been following me, again, if you haven't, Latoya Deshawn, personal makeup artist, personal development coach to high profile clientele and women around the world. Um, I am just so grateful right now for rest and for breaks and just for everything that I've learned. And so, just to give you an outline of what we're going to discuss today is if you guys know me, you know that I just had a surgery a month ago. Going to update you on that. That's a big reason why I took a break. And going to tie into the last thing I'm going to talk about. The second thing, I'm going to update you on just what I've been working on for the last 18 years of my life and how and what I have to offer today for women alike, of women around the world. So anyway, so I'm just gonna get a little comfortable because I really just want to give it all to you guys, and I want to go ahead and write the title in here and just say ending superwoman persona. We're gonna already do that, and as I tell you what's going on. So, ending superwoman persona is kind of like the whole title of today as I like start updating and everything. Thank you so much for coming in and hanging out. I appreciate it. So, let me just get right to it. So, if you guys know me, you guys know that I've been on a journey of having surgery for the last couple years. And last month, I had a surgery, lipoma removal. If anybody know what lipoma is, it's a non-cancerous fatty tumor. So it's not anything that's like dangerous, but mostly people get it removed if it causes discomfort and or cosmetically. So like you can have a lipoma like at the top of your forehead, and obviously that ain't cute. So you can get that removed. For me, it was just like a huge. I was just really like feeling a lot of pressure in my chest, and I had this problem 10 years ago when. I was having these chest pains, and I went to the doctor, and the facts are that the doctor told me, like, don't waste my time, like this is a fatty tumor, like don't waste my time again. And it was very hard to get that doctor's appointment, so you can imagine how I felt trying to get an appointment afterwards. And so anyway, 10 years passed by, and so earlier this year I went to the emergency room twice. And so I went to the emergency room because I just could not hardly breathe. It was just very tough on me. And so not of course, when I get to the emergency room, had to drive myself. I'll talk about all of this in a second. Um, they immediately start taking tests to check my heart, and what I learned about emergency room, it's like, they're going to just check you for the major stuff and then dope you up to just kind of like calm you down if there's not a problem over that also. And so went to the hospital twice earlier this year, and so realized that I needed to really just see again about this pain on my back. And so I ended up getting an MRI and came back that I had lipoma 7 centimeters on the top left portion of my back. And my doctor was like, oh wow, it's big, I'm like, okay. And I really like my doctor, he's cool. And so he was like, yeah, I think you should get it removed. And anybody who knows that I actually had got surgery a couple years ago, scared as shit, okay. And so I crossed that bridge of getting surgery then. And so really had high hopes for surgery now, because when I'm working with purpose and intention, like I'm like, let's go, let's do it. But 2 years ago when I started, on the beginning side of starting the journey or really building my work, that was like a real hard bridge to cross. But now I'm there, I'm good. So I got the surgery. we got the MRI, we got the surgery, and my doctor was cool, Haitian black man, and we got it removed October 1st. And so I was already working with my business. People had seen me posting things like that. But on the inside or behind the scenes, it wasn't really going so well. And so I didn't really like have a real plan. Like I was getting stumped on a few things, particularly on like, what is the message that I really want to send to the people that I serve? I knew what I was doing. I already was working with people behind the scenes, but like trying to manage that while also trying to like rest was like, you can't do both. So and then I had a conversation with my therapist, and then I was just like, let's stop the whole show. Like, we're gonna just stop the whole train. So that is really like how I got to needing to take a break from social media. I needed to just do nothing, and I had begun to get better at doing nothing. But obviously that was a point where like, be better, be even better. And so, I'm one of them women, anybody know me, a super high achiever, highly creative, superwoman out here that just like gets stuff done. And so, I knew that there was no rush. Like what I've been building is just like literally my purpose work, and I know it's going to work out. So what I did was, when I stopped everything, I said, well, what did you do when you were at this point, right? In my mind, this is like the beginning of my framework. So rather than try to exist in some anxiety or unsureness or whatever I call it, don't be the trash can, or whatever, like not feeling good and not feeling worthy, I was just like, I know how to do this better. And so I stopped the whole show. I went back to step one, which is you must decide, which is to always just be kind of truthful about what's happening in your life and like how it's impacting it. And the reality was, I just had a surgery, and the impact is like, I need to rest. Like, yo, I got staples in my back. Sit down. So I did. And I mean, I was pretty much sitting down, but again, you couldn't tell me. It just had to become real with other things compounding. And again, for a lot of women, that's the life we live, but I'm so much better than I was before. And when I rest and do tell the truth and be honest and get into self-awareness, like I can literally do nothing and enjoy. And I remember 2 years ago with the first surgery, like God was like, you will Netflix and chill. And for 3 weeks, I did that. And so much happened and moved in my career that, again, I went back to just what I know, So that's the surgery. I'm doing well. It's been a month. I have my checkup in like 2 days. I didn't really have to go get a checkup, but I'm like, you guys will not see me. You will okay the work, like I have insurance. So I'm like, I will come up here every day if that's what I got to do. And so I went up, I have my appointment a couple of days. I'm feeling good. In fact, let me just be clear about how I feel. I feel like a new woman. I mean, the fact that I could breathe, like, you don't even understand. I didn't have all of that looseness in my chest. Like I could breathe again, y'all. Like I feel like it's a restart. Like earlier this year, that was tough. I had to go to the emergency room because doing that was tough. Right. And then I had to argue with people at the doctor. I mean, literally Black doctors walking away from me, getting mad at me because I'm in discomfort. So when I got the results that it was 7 centimeters of lipoma on my back. And then he said the surgery, it was only supposed to be a 45-minute surgery, but it ended up being double the time because he said it was so deep. And as he was explaining how he had to get it out, it was like I felt all the things that I had been feeling for a decade. That just, so now as I'm healing and I could breathe, man, I was carrying so much tension. And it's just a buildup of like anxiety. And I mean, even though lipoma, like, it's not anything you cause. Like I can imagine the stress and anxiety that I had on top of it that caused that to show up in the way that it did. But I'm feeling like a new woman. Okay? I was doing it in pain. Life is about to be done in pleasure. And that's what I'm so excited about, and just what I wanted to let you guys know. When you take care of your health and you say yes and you move with intention, like although I was afraid of surgery, like it was great. They asked me what kind of music I wanted to listen to. I mean, they were all just crowded around me. And what I really love is they were like all people of color, you know, from the doctors to the nurses. I mean, it was a beautiful surgery room, like super clean. They had this little heater that they put inside of your blanket now so that like you can really get warm before they put you to sleep. It's like heaven must be like this, you know? And because I still had somewhat of a fear of like, what does it look like to just knock out? They put the thing on me and I was just like, I'm just gonna start the process. And I did. And I just like went and turned my head and started the process. So I'm grateful. I went home that day, had friends cover me. And that's not something that I would have had a few years ago. I wouldn't have asked for it. And so just so much better. I'm feeling so good. I'm ready. It's a rebirth for sure. I already created the freedom for myself a couple years ago, a little over 2 years ago. So created the freedom, rebirthing myself, and really positioning myself of a life of personal and professional success, especially with what I've built. Not just what I built, but just who I am building as I am becoming as well. That's really exciting. I'm literally outgrowing myself and putting myself where I want to be, which is, you know, at the helm of thought leadership and personal development, especially for the entertainment industry. Like, that's just what it is. So let me just get on over to number two. So number one, that's how I'm doing. Doing really great. I still have bandages on. They'll be off on Thursday. Number two, update on me, what I've been doing like for the last 18 years, right? I felt like I would be remiss if I like just put it in like a couple years. I keep saying 2.5 years ago, but really 2.5 years ago is when I got so clear and started to build a framework about what I have been doing my entire life. So I want to make that very clear. I am not new to this. I'm true to this. And so for 18 years, ever since I was in college, and I went on my first study abroad trip to China. I was, first of all, I was ballsy enough to go to a community college when I was accepted into a 4-year university. Just didn't feel the energy. And I myself was like, nope, I want to do this. Went to a community college, made sure it was a really great one, right next to the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. Pretty much went there, did the 2 years, excelled, made connections at the University of Illinois, and then got in there for a junior year. I not only deserved it, but I made sure that when I made the transition that I was always already intimate, that it wasn't like a starting over. Like, y'all knew me. I've been coming to meetings. So that's just me, who I've always been. I can go back even younger than that. But really how that matters is that when I got into U of I had one class I had to take, which was a history course, and I did not want to take it in with like 1,000 students, because at big universities, like 1,000 students, it's a lot of work. You don't really get that one-on-one attention. I knew what I needed to be successful. So I went into my advisor's office, and in the College of ACES, which is Agricultural Communications Environmental Sciences, there was like a plethora of different advisors for different things. So even though you were assigned to one, you can really go talk to any one of them. They serve a different purpose for the same department. And so I went into the study abroad advisor office, which was right next to the diversity, the guy who was like the minority diversity guy. So they shared sort of this big space. And so I went and sat down with her, lamented, and was like, look, I can't take this class. I have worked hard. I have sent over 62 credit hours from the community college. You need to figure this out. I will not sit there with 1,000 people and pay all this money. Okay? This ain't my lane. And so I will never forget. I was sitting in the chair and she just was like, here, here's this application. It literally said learning about China. And when I looked at it, I didn't care. I remember just it didn't matter what it said. Okay, couldn't have said a roller coaster or anything. That's not my ministry, but it could have said a lot of things, and I would have been like, okay, cool, as long as it's not sitting in a class with 1,000 people. And so I filled it out, took the application, and went on the interview. First question was, "Do you like Chinese food?" And I thought it was so funny, and I was accepted. 15 of us to go over to China. I'm fast forwarding this because really just being there and getting there and having the experience for 30 days changed my entire life. I realized how much we're being fed in the media, how much we just don't we really don't know. It's a small fraction of the world as we exist. And I really wanted to know more. And not only that, I had got the trip paid for. It was a fully funded trip by the university. So to not have to pay anything was a blessing. So I was looking to, as soon as I got off the plane, to get another trip. And so I'm going to fast forward. I ended up going to Paris and then I went to South Korea in the last 2 years of my college education at U of I. So I got the university for everything, and it was a great experience. It was a public institution, so I didn't pay as much money. In the last semester, it was like $1,500. Like, I hustled. Okay, anybody know me? Hustler. I did that, and so as soon as I get out of college, I have this advertising degree, communications, whatever, advertising, agricultural communications, however you want to put it. I got a lot of credentials starting out, and then I go work for a media agency, and I'm just like, oh my God, this is so boring. Like, you sit here in this office for more than 8 hours because, even though it was a 9 to 5, they wanted you there before. It looked good to show up before and to really stay late. Like, people were wearing pajamas. No way. I could not. And so my boss was terrible. I mean, we were there for hours. We were transferring over an account and it took months. And the boss was just like belittling us, scolding us. I mean, it was two Black women who joined the team. Of course, he was targeting us like, my 8-year-old could do this. That was his exact words. And we hired, and he put 2 more people on the team, and it was still a week, and it wasn't done. And so I was just like, I got to get out of here. And I had a talent for makeup, and I just decided to go apply for MAC after so many people thinking that I was going on an interview, and I did that. And so got a freelance with MAC and left that company, and just so happy that I did. That was torture. I feel for anyone who works in corporate. It's not my ministry. It's not my ministry. So, like, it's just not my ministry. So just understand this is my story and how how it started for me. But it was just not where I shine. So I was at the counter. I loved the experience. Didn't really know anything about, selling, but I just knew I was a hustler. So I was immediately good at it. I'm going to fast forward and, went to Smashbox and then broke a record there and trained 2 people who went on to do well in retail. But always face like oppression in terms of getting fired, getting reprimanded for whether it be my personality or just something personal about me. It was never really my work because I always excelled, overachieved. I was literally making everyone's job easier as they were making mine hard. And so I had dreams once I wanted to move on purpose to really work in education. And so I got my master's degree when the recession started in 2008. Said, let me just get some more credentials. Like, it's a recession right now. Let's do it. So I went and got my master's degree at Loyola University, Chicago International Higher Education. As well as I was still working in makeup. I had gone on to start working makeup gigs on the side, like wedding gigs, and I even worked a movie in Chicago. So that was great. That had to be somewhere around 2010, 2008 to 2013, maybe 2012, who knows. And so it was great. But again, it all kind of went down when, the last company I worked for, we talked about succession planning, and what I needed to do that. And again, I excelled. I broke a record. They didn't let me know I broke a record. They just was not communicating, like literally wanted to keep me like small. I'll use that as a good word, small. And so when I found out some other things that they were doing that was just really bad on their part, it's no point in really harping on it. But I will just say this, when I work with people, like I bring a certain integrity, a certain kind of honesty. And, it's hard to not be honest towards me. And I can't see that. So what I appreciate is even in the midst of discomfort, one of my team members who was at a rock and a hard place, she decided to exhibit integrity and just kind of let me know what was going on behind the scenes. And I thanked her for that, but also was incredibly hurt and saddened and devastated at that experience. Anyway, as I knew that I was not going to last there, I decided to start thinking about the next plan, or really just saving face so that I could have time. But I always say people work for people. And I had stopped working for them after I realized that there was no succession planning for me. In the words of my boss, they said, "Do you need a hug?" When I asked about succession planning after I broke a record, "Do you need a hug?" And so talk about oppressed. It's just been a journey of that. And then you have to imagine when you go home and you don't have any kind of validation of like your feelings and like any empowerment coming from you. And it's not that folks are just like not trying to empower you. They themselves didn't receive that, so they don't know how to give that out either. And so how do you ground yourself? What does that look like? To be, people like me who high achieve and never give up, like for the women out there who are the superwomen of the world who never give up. When do we ground ourselves? So I had no concept of that. I was just focused, always outcome focused. And I had, all of this to sustain and have within me to keep going. After I was interrogated for 2 hours and escorted out of a building, it was, I talk about lost, frustrated, confused, just down, oppressed, just everything. I remember hearing from God as I was walking to the train station in Chicago, because that's where I'm from. And I remember as I walked up the stairs, I heard the voice of God saying, "Don't worry about this." And then at the same time, I get a call from NARS Cosmetics in New York for a job interview. And I don't remember when I applied or what, like anything. And I do a job interview. And I remember just setting up the calendar invite for that and getting off the phone. I just remember reflecting on the train and just God saying, "Don't worry about this." And he was all God is a God who always works with intention and with purpose. But, I wonder, do we really, really make the effort to listen? And so I was listening. I heard it. And I was also just over getting fired, laid off, the dumb reasons that didn't make sense, the things behind the scenes that were just trash. I was just glad to hear something that was different, that could keep me going. And I really, to be truthfully honest, like I went and got my unemployment. The company that fired me, it was a company that was firing a lot of folks. So unemployment happily gave me the money, and this gave me some time. And then I went to Vegas and I kicked it, and then I came back, and then my cousin's like, "Oh, I'm getting married." And then I found out she's marrying this well-renowned actor who has since won 2 Oscars. And I helped plan their wedding, and it helped me to start visioning an idea of coming to Los Angeles to continue on my work, where I had originally planned on going to New York because that's like my second home. But I was like, I can do LA, it's fine. And so I remember asking my cousin, "Can you help me find a place?" And she said, "I can't help you with this." And then I paused because I thought to myself, I've never needed anyone's help. I never, like, I didn't need her. I just needed to decide. But I kind of heard God say, go to LA. I heard him also say that. And so I went to sleep and I woke up the next day and I said, if this is really what I should be doing, because I'm at this point in my life, then these things will happen. And if they happen, I'm out of here. And for me, I only remember two of them. And one of them was Oprah, a TV show, Watch What Happens Live, came on. Oprah was on it. And she was talking about the power of now and how she just only focuses on now. She doesn't focus on the past or the future, just now. I said, well, now, this is what I'm being called to do. The second thing was I would have to call my dad, who's the cheapest, most frivolous, not really giving person on the earth. And I said, if my dad lets me stay with him rent-free for 6 months, then I know that this is what I need to do, and I'll move on it, because my dad is not that dude. And I called him and I said, Dad, I'm ready to make a shift. I haven't been feeling Chicago for a while. Like, I just need like 6 months to save up this money, and then I'm out of here. And his first words were, go ahead and get your stuff and come on. And I was like, wow. So yeah, I sold all my stuff. Like, people were like, what's happening in your life? I sold everything in my apartment, like, in a week, because I had to get out by the end of the month. So I needed to get it out. And I did. And I was at his house, and it went on to be the roughest 6 months I've ever experienced. I was living between my dad, my mom, and my sisters. I had suitcases in the trunk. I mean, people, every last one of the houses had its own set of stuff that I had to work through. It was incredibly humbling. And I just heard God say, this is what you should do. And I just submitted. And that got me back into retail. And I went back on that counter, saw those folks. And I was like, you know what? They couldn't even face me. And it was a learning lesson of stay focused. People aren't even concerned. Be concerned with where you're going. And at that point, I was concerned about where I was going. And so I didn't let them faze me. They didn't want to talk to me. Hell, I don't want to talk to you. So fast forward, and I'll go more in that story later, because it's a beautiful story of how everything kind of came to be. And almost 6 months to the day, I was out of there in Los Angeles. And the day after I arrived in Los Angeles, I'm literally at the makeup show and hitting the ground running and just showing up for myself. And it was a beautiful experience. But I want to talk about some things that I'm not really mentioning. I'm giving you all of that. But on the inside, right, I didn't feel as much support. I didn't have people who really supported makeup artistry and that as a career. I had to struggle with chronic pain as a child. I started with fibroids. I started with rheumatoid arthritis at 10 years old. I used to have to crawl into my parents' room. When I was 9 years old is when I started my period, and I would have to get early dismissals every day, every month from school. I would literally throw up and be in a bed, having to take 800 milligrams ibuprofens at 9 years old. And then a whole bunch of other things that happened in my life that I was still working through as I was working through my life. But there wasn't a whole lot of support. Anything that I wanted, I kind of did. As you can see, when I asked my dad, could I come move with him? It wasn't like, hey, babe, can I give you like all this money to go help you, support your dreams? It was like, no, you could stay with me rent free, which I was, happy with. But that's also where I settled for. And then, I know my dad. So a few months later, he did end up trying to ask me for rent, in which I did not pay him because I still was so focused on what I had for my life. And so these are the things that are happening on the inside. I'm talking about pain to where it feels like a contraction. Like, you talk about monthly, you're bent over, you're throwing up. You can't, it's just so much. And Also, rheumatoid arthritis. I'm getting vials of blood getting taken out because my parents don't know what to do because I'm screaming. I'm crawling in their room, and then the tests are coming out that I slightly have it, not really, but it's like not there to really say. But of course, it was an opportunity to talk about me being overweight. So here we go with that story of like, now we have to deal with my weight. Of course, I'm a thick child, but when I look at all my pictures, I just had a big booty from the start. I was a small child. So, but again, because there really wasn't a clear solution, like I was already working with, this is what I can control. And I like working out. I like riding my bike. I was a kid who hung out outside. Like, I can just do that from there. But when I think about when I worked so many jobs on my feet and crying when I came home, because I could hardly breathe. I was in so much pain. And I would always often go to the doctor and they would say, tell me where the pain is. And I said, I can't tell you. Because when that hurts, it's the whole thing. Cut the whole thing off. And so it was very, very hard to go through that journey with my chronic pain. And that has still been a journey, which is why, like, I don't wear a lot of heels. And it just dictates my life, right? What is the impact on your life, right? That's the impact. And so anyway, getting into more of the present and just dealing with the oppression, it continued as I moved here to LA, with retail gigs, same thing. I mean, and even worse because I just feel like people didn't really have an intimacy with me coming from Chicago, the Midwest, and just having so much personality, and then also not being able to just, fire me in store and stuff. And so it was about 3 years in from working odd jobs in production, cheap, hardly any paying jobs in production, and then also just having some clients who didn't treat me well, primarily my family members. But anybody who's watching this, feel free to hit me up and ask me to expound, because if you've made it this far to watch this video, I'll tell you. Okay, I'll give you some behind the scenes. And so I just had to figure it out. I had to just finally get myself together. And incident happened with family member, particularly my mother. And it really was just a shift in our relationship. It was a shift in how I had to really show up for myself and protect myself. It was an acknowledgement and awareness of a system that I've existed in, that has not served me for where I want to go in my life. And I was at the point where I was ready to sit down and get real clear about it. And this happened in 2016, but the first coaching session happened in 2018. But I'll tell you that in between time, there was a depression. There was the depression that looked like going out excessively. I was at all the after hours spots. I was dating this guy. We were drinking so much, eating all the oxtails and rice and peas. I mean, I ended up getting pre-diabetic. So talk about what in the depression. But it wasn't until after the life coaching, as I'm starting to come into some realization, 2018 in the fall, I stumble and fall and pass out at a club in 2018 around September. And or the end of August, something like that. And this is when I really realized, hey, I cannot overlook what I'm feeling, not what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling. And what I'm feeling is I don't have control. I've been in pain. I've been managing that, but that's still been hard. I got family stuff, and I'm always in conflict with them every time I call them, but I'm trying to keep that in control. But I'm not in control. Trying to manage my career and being freelance and knowing that if I can't do this, it doesn't get done. I don't have that help. I don't have that support. I haven't, never have. And it's not the support where I feel like I have to go ask for it. It's support where I just know it's there, where I can rest and lean. I don't have that. Story that I tell myself is that didn't exist for me when I look back. And so 2018 is when I passed out and started a journey of me going to the doctor to find out that I had fibroids. And when, again, the pain was so unbearable, it started a journey of me getting social anxiety, scared to be around people because I was in so much pain that it was also emotional. People didn't understand or just didn't take a moment to like hear me or validate my thoughts. That was the social anxiety. I was so emotional. I'm like, I don't want to be around people. Brain fog entered, like really bad, so just not really feeling like in control of like what I want to do, how I'm feeling. Like that was, it still is so tough. It's such a journey. And then at the top of 2019, I knew that I was going to get the surgery because I was again, I had already had life coaching. I was ready to make a change. I wasn't depressed anymore. I was ready to move forward. Still dating this guy, and I had a trip planned to Africa. And so I remember just going to the hospital, the doctor, so many times in 2019 at the top of the year because I had so many appointments for my fibroids and other things that I was suffering from. And also, I was preparing for Africa. Like, I needed to make sure I was okay. I again, not having the help that I've had in America, like, I just wanted to be armed with whatever I could. And so, my doctor was so supportive. I really am just grateful for him. And so he made sure, like, whatever we needed to do, he equipped me. And I will let you know and just fast forward a little bit and say that when I went to Africa, like, I was in no pain. None. The only time I got in pain was like the little bitty cramps you get before you get your period. Like, that was it. So talk about doing all that prep for like a pain-free trip, which I'm grateful for. It's fine. I wanted to be armed and prepared. And so went on that trip, no pain. The only pain that I experienced was the emotional abuse that the guy I was dating was trying to put on me at the time, which was hilarious because I am just not that girl to be emotionally abused. And so I was just like, we got to stop this because no, this does not work for me, and I'm in a whole nother country with you, not feeling good, not feeling safe. So got back home. I mean, y'all, to the point where like we didn't even stay in the same hotel before we left. The pictures look great, but like no, the reality is like I was over there, y'all, left. And let me know you talk about that. I had a girlfriend who kind of left me a little bit too and changed the plans like 2 months before. So talk about just like what in the alteration. Like we are not going to Kansas. But that is that. And it happened and taught me a lesson of like, I'm really just out here by myself. To the point where like someone would just mistreat you with no regard. So this is it right here. This is 2019. This is me coming back May 1st and just like, I will not go any further in life until I figure out what has been going on with me. I had attempted therapy in my senior year of high school, and I had went to therapy a few years earlier than maybe around 2016 or 2015, something like that. But I was always trying to figure out how to manage my relationship and create better relationships because that's where I had kind of, had issues with. I was unwilling to go further after that trip because of the abuse that I had experienced and the lack of like safety that I felt with this person and just not being in my comfort zone. And so May of 2019, I went on a journey of what I call you must decide, right? You must decide to me is you got to get out of your own way. You got to tell the truth about the life that you're really living. Self-awareness is big here. And you got to be like not afraid to try another way. That's where I was in my life. All those things. I was ready to do all those things. And so I just started on my journey of like tapping into the research even more. Anything I was thinking, feeling, I was Googling it and seeing what showed up for me. And it was really a journey of discovering a lot of people, Iyanla, Oprah, Wayne Dwyer, so many more, Brene Brown. I mean, so many more people. And I was just grateful 2019, I had also said to myself, start reading books, 1 book a month. Because, first of all, anyone who reads over 7 books a year, there's more of a likelihood that you'll be a millionaire. And I was on that track also. So I wanted to definitely do that, be intentional. So as I was changing and researching people, it was giving me books, and I was like, hey, I'm down for it. So I was adding in even more valuable books to the thing. I got more intentional about it. Got just, you know, May was tough. I mean, when I tell you I was crying, I would cry and I would step outside my house and I would go walk around the park to go cry out loud because I didn't want the all of that to stay inside the house when I moved through my feelings. So I would literally stop what I'm doing and go and cry. I needed to have my friends affirm me because of how I talked so low about myself. 3 weeks with someone who literally just like not trying to see you, not valuing you, just, it was tough. And then also having the fibroid pain, which he really didn't know about because it didn't show up till when he left because he worked out of the country. But it was, there was no support that I think he would have gave that would have worked, that would have served me. Yeah, I was like desperate for something new, right? And so I pretty much, that whole May, tapped in. I did not do any work. I was like, Toya, you're not going to do any work. God is going to take care of you. This is why you got getting the surgery done. You know where he wants to take you somewhere, and he just wants your health to be good. So don't even worry about trying to make money because he didn't even have you work in February, a month before I left. Do you understand? No, it was March. March, I didn't have any work. So I'm going to be gone for 33 days. I don't work the month before, and then I come back and I'm all messed up, and I'm not going to work this month. This is 3 months from someone who's an entrepreneur in Los Angeles trying to make it work, pay her bills, everything with no support. But I was just like, I cannot go further, right? I know these results. I know how I can show up, and I need something different. And so I tapped in all of May. And I'm telling you, it got better. And there's so many things that I did, right? But I started off, I got a therapist, a lot of things, physical therapist. Again, I started reading books. I started changing what I was listening to. I started tapping into my spiritual work a little bit more. That was the beginning of like just going deeper. This is how I built my framework. You must decide. I was willing to be honest, willing to be self-aware, and willing to try another way. And I did. I also had a surgery coming up, so I was scared. So I needed to just kind of like stay in a nice mindset, so meditation was big here. And I just needed to like kind of breathe it out, and really reach and be vulnerable. And that surgery really, really was difficult because I didn't really have support here. And I had my mother come and help me out. And really, it was the biggest stress of my life. I couldn't really relax until my mother left. That's a whole nother story. If anyone is watching this and they want to know this story, let me know. Send me a DM. I don't mind telling you how that really affected me and did not serve me for where I wanted to go in my life. It was the first time I ever been down and did not have the help, even when it was right in front of me. To the point of my mother saying, well, I will leave. So it's like, oh, abandonment. Here we go. And so it was just a lot of awareness of like, this behavior isn't new. It's just I am seeing this from a different lens because now I'm vulnerable. That was tough for me. My therapist saw how the anxiety that filled me, right? I'm sure it went down to that lipoma that I just got removed a month ago. So many things were happening, and I'm still just like trying to decide, get out of my own way, tell the truth, be honest, be willing to try another way. And so I kept on. And so my mom, it was just tough. I mean, I'm not going to go into it now for another day, but I did not rest until my mother closed the door. And I was like, okay, Mom, have a safe flight back to LA. And that was when I could relax. And so I say all that to say is because I'm just here to be honest. Not only is the first guiding principle of my company is you must decide, but also the first pillar and the first journey that you go through is behind every face is a story. All of this matters for what you're going to hear at the end. And so you must decide. I did that. Closed the door, and I just was like, oh yeah, I can't go through this anymore. Not with my mom, not with some man, not with the work, not any of it. And so earlier, back in May when I put myself in solitude, I wrote down and I said, what do I enjoy? Where do I want to live? Where do I want to be? Just questions, little questions. And it really started to, reflect back on the life that I had lived. And these are the things that I've been asking for since I was in high school. I wanted these things. And so I started to really contend with it, be honest. And I'm so grateful. And so through this journey of therapy, now I have therapy. I've had a pastor who had always been my therapist since I moved in 2014. I'm now having a physical therapist because I also, after my surgery, went through shingles, went through tendonitis. I mean, there's so many things. It did not end there. But did anybody ask? A lot of people did not ask. No one, cared. But also, I wasn't necessarily saying it. I had the people that I trusted. So this is a journey of me just having to really be aware of what's happening. Let me keep on going. In November, another situation happened with my family. And again, I had to decide. You must decide. Be honest. What is really happening here? No, it's not just shallow. Don't think about this particular situation. What is really happening up under? And what was really happening up under is me noticing just not being supported, always having to fight. That's why I always fight. Because there was never a space for me to just be. Was never received well. And so another devastation, blow to my face. I decided to just say, I'm done. And luckily I had a friend with me. I was able to cry it out, get the support I needed. I brought a computer and I had dedicated myself to getting my life, again, even more clear. So I say principle number 1 is you must decide, but we're always deciding. We always decide every moment, second of the day, all day. We do. But once I got the computer, and I said, I ain't buying nobody a damn gift. I ain't giving nobody nothing because I need to focus in on me. I need to stop serving everyone and start serving me, right? That's the thing you're going to hear. You're serving everyone, yet being served the least. That was me. And December 19, 2019, I wrote the vision and made it plain. Guiding principle number 2, enter the dreaming zone. Right? That's what I did with my life when I wrote the vision and made it plain. I just said on a regular Tuesday, this is how I'm living my life. This is how I wake up. This is who I wake up with. This is who is around me. This is how I'm supported, right? This is how I pour in to my purpose, and this is how it's poured back into me. That is what I use to write my vision and make it plain on the life that I want to live for the rest of my life. And that get more specific to where does that look like? How does this life look? Again, how are you supported all day in living the life of you being served instead of giving to everyone else? And so that's how Enter the Dreaming Zone happened. And it took me into a world where, again, reminded me when I was a kid and when I did that first trip out of the country. I said, I want to live out the country. I want to do that. Why am I here? I'm always stressed out. I got a headache every time I get off the plane. All of it. But I was clear and I was smiling. I was happy. And I also got a chance to think about a life with me. See, are we really thinking about a life long term that really serves us? Or is it really a life to show from the outside all that we done? What about if we work so hard to just be? That's a journey that I went on. But I had wrote some big visions for myself, and I wrote some big numbers about how much money I wanted to make the next year and how I wanted to continue on the vision that I knew so strongly God had for me. He said, you're going to be out here helping women. You're going to be out here helping them with just walking in their purpose. You're going to help them in their beauty, and you're going to help them with food. He said that. 1, 2, 3. I'm here for it. I submitted. I surrendered. That is also you must decide. Are you guys surrendered? Are you submitted? Because obedience is next. I call that everything you need is everything you have. Everything you need is everything you have. So as soon as I wrote the vision and made it plain, I started coaching women. Early 2020, I started coaching a college kid. And I also did a coaching session in 2019, but it was more geared towards helping parents get their kids in college. Or get money towards the college, that because again, that was the initial fire that lit to get this whole thing going. And so I started working with a parent in November of 2019, and then I started coaching a kid in January of 2020, and then I started coaching women in January of 2020 also. And so again, it's been a beautiful journey of it's been almost 2 years now. I've been coaching at least four of the women for almost 2 years, which is really amazing. And they'll all say that I've been instrumental in them changing their life. But what they did for me is allow me to enter the dreaming zone and to know that everything I need is everything I have. Okay. Principle number 3, guiding principle number 3, everything you need is everything you have. And so I tapped into that. I did not do anything but tap into me and all that I have. And they decided, and they were brave enough to try another way. And they met with me weekly. I mean, intense personal development work. I will say I had COVID on my side, so a lot of people were ready and were willing and available to start looking at themselves, right? To start being honest about the life that they've been living, to start really like being aware, and deciding to try another way. And so that's where I come in. That's where I came in, and I showed up and I showed out. And what I love about that experience is as it's still happening, as they're developing, and as I'm getting new women who are starting exactly where I started in May of 2019, and for some people even earlier, because really that's when my framework started. But really life had been happening in its glory since I was a child, right? When I was 9 years old, just starting my period and going through family trauma as well as health issues, chronic pain. All of it has brought itself to this moment to pretty much say, to help end Superwoman persona. And that's what we're talking about today. We're ending Superwoman persona because that is what has been plaguing us this entire time with our life. And we need to make sure that we stop doing that because you've been serving everyone, yet being served the least. I had to stop doing that. And when I did that, I saw God show up and show out in my life. I saw him show up and show out in my life. And so I'm just letting you guys know that, through everything I need is everything I have. I tapped into my skills, my soft skills, my hard skills that I already have, and really I didn't need to do anything. It was all there. And I think what we do as women is like, we feel like, let me go get the next credential. Let me go do this next thing. And I really just think we're afraid to see ourselves. Really, we don't need to do any of that. Right? It hasn't served us, not necessarily the thing we're doing, but just the way in which we've been doing it. It has not served us. And I could tell you that after all of the people I've seen, the physical therapists, the clergy, the psychotherapists, the acupuncturist, the chiropractor, the life coaches, the mentors that I pay into. I mean, it's a lot of investment that I've made. And what I've come to is that we are not dealing with ourselves. We are not taking the time. You're serving everyone, yet being served the least. And so, once I just worked with everything I needed, it was everything I had. Principle number 4 was to keep going. As simple as that. We hear it all the time. And that's what life is all about. He wants us to keep going. God wants us to keep going, but he really wants us to do it in alignment. The reason why we can't keep going is that we're not aligned. We let our ego show up and we let our ego show out. And really, I was talking with someone the other day, and every time I was challenging them to think bigger about, this vision that God has for them, they were limiting themselves by saying what they feel like they've already accomplished. And what I challenged them to think about is, it's not about where you think you're at. It's about where you think you're aligned at with your spiritual guidance. With who you're aligned with there. It don't never matter about us, right? If I go egoic, right, I'm all that in a bag of chips. But if I'm working in purpose, it changes how I do things and how I show up for myself and the courage that I exhibit. And so Again, I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. I've done the work. I've been doing the work. The work never stops. I am doing the work. And so I can tell, and I've seen how it has enhanced my life, and how it has showed up and just really, really made for a great position me for a life of personal and professional success. And so my fifth principle is don't be the trash can. Like, don't go back to that place of unworthiness. Know that you are valuable. What we had to do is change my habits, change my daily habits, and really focus in on that. I had to change the people that I was around. I had to focus in on my health. I had to get more spiritual grounding. But really, I had to decide that I was worthy enough, that God loved me so that he would make sure that I would see all the things, not just see, because we can't see what he has for us, but that I can get myself in alignment so that I can take myself out of all the work that needs to be done, that never serves the world. I'm overworking myself. It's showing up in my chronic pain, my health issues. I'm stressed out, the anxiety. I'm getting oppressed all the time. This ain't it. And so my whole life is a testimony to what God wanted me to do. And when he told me to start Patent Leather Project in 2017, he said, you're going to help women unlearn stuff. And as I wrote that down, because he said, and you will call it Patent Leather Project. And that's why we have a bunny, because it symbolizes Easter. It's the resurrection. Right? It's the first time where we went into for some of us, belief systems. We had to wear the dress. We had to wear the shoes. We had to have the poofy dress. All of that good stuff. But who is that who we are? He wanted us to unlearn all of that to really get back to him. To get aligned with what he wants for your life so you can live a life of peace, of freedom, okay? You do not have to work hard. And so what I do to not be the trash can is continue to affirm myself. And that's the fifth principle. And how you do that is it all ends with community, right? It all ends with community because I've changed my habits. I've outgrew myself. I've raised myself up, right? There's a whole nother life for me. There's a whole business that I've created dedicated to helping women in the Superwoman persona. And it is just a pleasure to do that because when I think about what it is that I'm really doing, it's all about helping women change their belief systems and thought patterns, so they can create a life of freedom. They can rebirth themselves and position themselves for a life of personal and professional success. Period. Either you want it or you don't. And I know for me, it's like, what do I want? Why do I want it? What are the stakes? What is the impact and what are the stakes, right? Who helps you get there? So that is what I have to talk about today. Ending the Superwoman persona. I am going to do a masterclass on it so that I can show you guys how I went about doing that and how it has enhanced my personal and professional career. I can tell you that I made a whole lot of money doing it in COVID-19. So anybody who's really interested in getting over six figures and beyond needs to also get into this masterclass, because not only are we changing your life from the personal, professionally, it puts you in a whole different ball game. I can tell that women haven't done the work because it would show in their income. It would. And it would show because there will be some pieces that they're putting together because what you do in one area of your life is what you do in all. Okay. So if you're showing up good here, it's going to show up here in your work. It's going to show up in how you work out. It's going to show up in your eating habits. It's going to show up who you hang out with. And when people act like we can't see you, that's that ego coming in to protect you. But that's why there's a place and a space to talk about it. And you don't have to necessarily use those same protective things that you had to use before, right? Because that has not served you. Being a superwoman adds a whole lot of stress and a whole lot of health benefit, a lot of health negatives that do not impact your life in a great way. It also just impacts your overall quality of health. You do not have the best relationships. You're always in and out of oppression and things like that. So again, I've looked at the research, and it's also the research is me. It's me also. So I've really just tapped into this because as God told me that you will help women change their belief systems and bring them back to him, which is to believe in him and believe that he can do all things. And he just wants you to write the vision and make it plain and know that he has equipped you. Okay. You got to know that. He's saying, Toya, I'm gonna make you go through it. So you can really get through it, and so that you can be a testimony on the other end for people who are struggling, for a place to really talk about how things are difficult as you're navigating relationships and showing up for yourself with your habits, or just coming into self-awareness about the life that you've lived. I had to do that, and I could tell you, you guys don't even want to know. Okay, we're talking about family estrangement. We're talking about like abandonment, neglect, CPTSD, PSD, which is patriarchal stress disorder. Again, I had to have fibroids, I had a myomectomy, lipoma, tendinitis, shingles. I had to have a physical therapist, an acupuncturist, a chiropractor. I also have a psychotherapist. I have a pastor who I speak with, and a plethora of doctors. A plethora of doctors who help me get to where I need to be. Also, mentors and coaches who help me in my business. All this stuff cost. But I did it. I'm doing the work because it never stops. But I was brave enough to tell my story, tell the truth about what I feel really is happening in my life, and be brave enough to try another way. That's all I'm doing. And the impact on my life is freedom. I have not even hardly worked on my makeup business in 2021, right? Because that's what we're in, 2021. But I could tell you that God has his hands on me. I don't have to worry about a thing. I worked less than 10 times. But every time I step out the door, it's for a really great price now. So I don't have to overwork myself with jobs that pay like 300, 500. For some people, they're not even charging that. And so I've really cracked the code on how to stop serving everyone, right? You're being served the least. I've really cracked the code on how to really end the Superwoman persona and get back to a life of you, where you can actually serve and walk in your purpose and not have to overwork yourself and overwalk, okay? It has showed up in my income. I'm telling you, if you guys are so grateful to watch this video, which I hope you're still here, if you're still here. I'm also moving out of the country. I have a personal development consulting company that will help women in Superwoman persona. It's also going to have a strong emphasis on the entertainment industry because they too need the help. And I've been there. I've worked with high profile talent. It's what I do, and it's what I will continue to do because it's my industry. So I want to do this masterclass because I want to set you guys up for success. I want to show you guys how to get out of Superwoman persona before the new year starts. You guys are going to send me a DM, and I'm going to send you an email thanking you for registering for the masterclass. It'll be November 17th. I think it'll be either 4 or 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We'll go for about 2 hours, and I'll equip you guys. And it'll be a strong emphasis on the principles and asking the questions of if you must decide and what that looks like in terms of creating a better you on a day-to-day basis. But you have to be willing to try another way. So in this masterclass, let us get into it. Let us talk about it a little bit. Let us come together as women and share the stories. Let us look at the face behind the story, and let's see how all that you are is all that you come to be to come into this class. Come in here. You heard some of my story. And again, if you've heard this whole story, there are parts where I told you to ask me more. And I hope that you do ask me more. I want to go in there and let you know. But I just want you to know that I help high achieving women of faith who are frustrated, lost, and juggling a lot in life. Change belief systems and negative thinking around what being a superwoman really is, so they can rebirth themselves, experience personal freedom, and stand out as a dynamic leader, stress-free, period. So I just wanted to update you guys on me. Again, life is great. I'm getting ready to make some huge transitions. I can't believe because I wrote the vision to make it plain. I can't believe because I remember when I decided and wrote it down in a book. I remember all the books that I read. I remember all of the hoops that I had to jump through. I had no idea what I would have had to go through personally and professionally to get to where I am now. But I could tell you that I am here for such a time as this, that my experience puts me as the top person to help a woman like you help to end Superwoman persona. I have worked less than 10 times this whole year and built a second business and literally about to start traveling the world and enjoying my damn self. There's about to be love on the other end, community, stability, security, intimacy, all of it. I can't wait to give and to serve, but I can't wait to also receive. You've been serving everyone, yet being served the least. What I'm about to receive, God is about to blow my mind. And if you are that woman who has always been thinking about that, what do you want? Why do you want it? Do you want the personal freedom? Do you want to rebirth yourself? You want to position yourself for personal and professional success? It's all happening in this masterclass. You need to be here. You need to be here. We need you here. Hoo-wee! I talked a lot. I gave you all my all, and I'm grateful. I've been through a lot. There's a lot that I did not say. But I'm going to keep on telling the story because behind every face is a story, and the story continues. The work continues. But you have this woman here dedicated to your transformation. I hope you guys will join me on November 17th in the masterclass. I pray that you really know that there is a life beyond what you currently thinking and feeling. God wants you to try another way. He wants you to choose him. He wants you to surrender. He wants you aligned with him. Before I go out, I'll say this. He said, after I decided in May of 2019, around June, because you're always deciding. It's levels to this, is what I tell my clients. June of 2019, I was in my bedroom and I was walking to the bathroom, and it wasn't a long walk. It was a very short walk. And as I was making this walk halfway through, I heard God say, what are you afraid to lose that I'm not going to give you on the other side of your obedience? I will never forget, because when I told the truth and was honest about answering that question, it was my family, my nieces and nephews. See, I was accepting a lot because, I wanted to just be an example to nieces and nephews. I felt like I had a way. I kind of had a little bit of an out. Let me just show them. That's all I wanted. But God said, you got to know I'm going to give you that love. You got to know that there's going to be family on the other side. You don't lose that. You gain. And what I've gained is a life where I can really think about the life where I want to live. I still do this every day. My why is the family. It will never not be the family I'm cultivating and creating, in the family, those nieces and nephews that I always sacrificed for. Nothing changes except for how I do it. And a lot of us women are really operating in trauma response. And God wants us to do this better. That's why when we're always trying to figure out how do we get clients and how do we serve, just turn that mirror around. Like, how do you get you? How do you move you through? And you'll realize it's an opportunity to really be truthful, be self-aware, be honest about the life you've lived, and be willing to try another way. I decided when I walked to the bathroom, after I made the complete walk, I decided. And I'm asking you guys to decide November 17th, this masterclass. Decide that you want better. Decide that what you've been doing it for is not going to be lost when you try another way. It's going to only open up so much more. A life where you're not serving everyone, yet you're being served the least. Yeah, it's a long journey. It's a journey, right? It takes time. But I've been doing it. I've been in it. You heard me shout out the resources. Let me come and help you end it. Why? Because God said so. He told me in 2017 when I would name it the Patent Leather Project, to help women unlearn stuff. Oh, God. And what he really said, Toya, you have to unlearn it first so you can go out there and be a vessel. Oh, boy, I would have never chose it for my life. But what I do know is that I'm in alignment. And so I am here for what he has for me. I hope that if you consider yourself a woman of faith, that you truly be honest with yourself and ask that question. Are you here for what God has for you? Are you here for getting aligned with what the will of what he wants for your life? To thine own self be true. You must decide. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.